There's a lot going on in our world. Good, bad, ugly, everything. And in this technological age where we can turn on our computers or pull out our phones and find out what's happening in places here, there, and everywhere, in all corners of the globe, we have so much information about all the things that are happening in our lives, in the lives of people we know, and even in the lives of people we don't. All this information, these events, these moments, what does it mean for us? And how can it connect us with God? In today's gospel, Jesus shares an interesting tidbit, a few interesting points about what's been going on in Israel. He mentions a group of Galileans whose blood Pontius Pilate had apparently mingled with the blood of their sacrifices. Then he talks about these 18 people who were killed when a big tower fell on them in Siloam. Right after that, he jumps into a parable of a person who had a fig tree planted in his orchard. That one's not necessarily a real story, but it certainly could be. Now, it's curious. The words of Jesus are jumping around in almost a disjointed kind of way, connecting all these tales of events that were happening around him, all these events that had taken place, some notable current events, you could say, from Jesus in this time and place in Jerusalem. And while we could sit here and just think, that's interesting, or, well, that wasn't a very nice thing for Pilate to do, I think we can dig a little deeper than that into what Jesus is trying to show us. Does Jesus really need us to understand these specific events, to grasp the specifics of these individual moments and people from around 2,000 years ago? No, I don't think he does. In fact, he seems to lead us away from doing that. As he mentions the ill-fated Galileans, he quickly points out how they weren't greater sinners than other Galileans. That in a sense they were just like many others. And then when he talks about the people crushed by that tower, he does the same thing. His focus seems to be less on the individuals and more on using this to remind all those listening about their need to stay close to God. As Jesus puts it, if you don't, you will all perish as they did. Now, it's not that Jesus doesn't care about what's happening to those people. He's just very realistic about the fact that in our world, things happen. Good things and bad things, all sorts of things. They're happening to different people at different times. It's part of life, everyday life that we live. And just maybe, Jesus is using that fact, to offer a simple reminder that in all of these things, whatever they are, it's good and helpful to have God present. Every day of our lives is full of events and activities and interactions and moments, from the mundane to the exciting, from the holy to the profane, from things that'll get written down in history books to the stuff that nobody else will ever hear about. All of it is part of life. And the hope is that we allow God to be part of it all, not separating out work time from fun time, from family time to holy time, and only letting God be a part of certain specific moments, not compartmentalizing God into this tiny little corner, but instead remembering that He always desires to be with us. Now, as we draw deeper into Lent on this third Sunday, we might look at the events of the world, look at the events of our day, and see if we're letting God be a real part of it. Because it's only by allowing our Lord into it all that we can truly learn and grow from Him as we encounter life, newsworthy or not, good or bad, and everything in between.